On behalf of the ECCB and its partner institutions, I wish to warmly welcome you here this evening to this business symposium. We are few in numbers, but I know we are many in capability, so I know we're going to do a great job tonight. Every year at this time, Financial Information Month, we seek to partner to bring financial awareness and knowledge to the population through the ECCU region under the theme Financial Empowerment Through Education. This year, this month's activities are being held under the theme Conducting and Protecting Your Business in a Digital Environment. During the month, various activities were held targeted at the youth and students, entrepreneurs, and the general public through television, radio, and community outreach. This evening's symposium could be defined as a culmination and climax of this month's activities. It is being streamed live as the organizers seek to ensure and expand its reach to ensure that more people are exposed to the information. And having received this information, that they will take deliberate steps to restructure and transform their businesses to take advantage of opportunities in the digital environment. With us this evening, we have two very capable presenters who will be supported by other professionals from within our local regulatory and security institutions. Gentlemen, we welcome you. I invite you, please, to be alert, to remain engaged, and to participate fully in the discussions that will follow. Remember, knowledge is power. I thank you for being here, and once again, on behalf of the organizers, I wish you welcome.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Andal, for those warm words of welcome and for inviting God's presence in our midst. As moderator, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the first presenter on the topic Innovation in the Payment System, Cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Mobile Wallets, etc. We have a presenter who will not only demystify these concepts, but would further enlighten us as to how we can keep our resources safe in such an environment. Because oftentimes, the reason why we do not venture forth is because of our fear of the unknown. Mr. Andrew Searles hails from the island of Barbados. He's an attorney at law by profession, a police officer by training and career. His bio is in the program, so I will not bore you with the details. But please, let's give a warm Spice Isle Grenadian welcome to the podium of Mr. Andrew Searles.
Thank you, moderator. Let me say good evening, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Or must I say happy Halloween? I'm not sure if you celebrate Halloween here. Right? This evening, my presentation will be on an introduction to cryptocurrency, maybe I twist it around, innovation in the payment system. Now, before I start, I want to express sincere thanks to ECCB and their team for allowing myself and other members of the RSS ARU to be a part of their Financial Information Month. We have some other members of the team. I think there's another symposium that will be going on tonight in St. Kitts. They're one member of the team there, and we had also another symposium that took place in St. Lucia some weeks ago, and we had another member there. And what we are trying to do, we are trying to create awareness in relation to cryptocurrency. This is a very topical issue, and it depends on where you sit. If you are a business person, well, then you may see cryptocurrency as an investment. If you're a police officer or a law enforcement officer, you may say cryptocurrency, well, this is headache. How can we arrest persons who are involved with cryptocurrencies? If you're a criminal, you might say, well, hey, boy, this is a good investment for me, boy. Law enforcement can't track this. They cannot find my cryptocurrency, so I can convert all of my cash that I made from drug trafficking, put it into a cryptocurrency wallet, and bam, hide it. And the thing is, that is headache for law enforcement, and it's an issue that we really have to tackle with as we go forward. But before I go ahead, I just want to say a few words about the organ. Press the wrong thing? Right. Sorry, my apologies. Before I go ahead, I just want to say a few words about the organization that I represent. The Regional Security Systems Asset Recovery Unit is based in Barbados, but it covers all the RSS jurisdictions. This includes Barbados, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Antigua and Barbuda. And the role of the RSS, the ARU, is to build sustainable regional capacity in criminal asset recovery. And we see this as an innovative approach to tackling serious organized crime. Our motto is to take the profit out of crime. We believe it's just like a business venture. You go into a business venture and it's not making any money, bam, you will not be involved in it anymore. The same thing with crime. Unless it's a crime of passion, most crimes you will see that persons commit crime for profit. And once we take the profit out of crime, bam, we believe that crime will be reduced. Now, the RSS ARU is staffed by attorneys like myself and financial investigators. It provides mentorship and legal advice to stakeholders in the asset recovery regime. And you will find that I am in Grenada occasionally. Grenada is one of the jurisdictions that I pay particular attention to. So you will find that I will be working with the financial investigators, also be working with the magistrates and the prosecutors, because we're looking to build sustainable capacity so that they can handle any money laundering case or any asset recovery case. The aims and the objectives of this presentation, we are going to look at the evolution of means of payment, the alternative means of payment, the development of cryptocurrencies, that is the main thing. What is the technology behind these cryptocurrencies? And we're going to look at the different types of cryptocurrency wallets. And another question here is, are we ready yet for the development of cryptocurrencies? At the end of the presentation, we'll all be able to tell me if we are ready yet or not. Alternative means of payment. There are various alternative means of payment. We have debit cards, we have frequent flyers, we have M-Money, we have loyalty points, and we also have cryptocurrencies. Now, the frequent flyer miles, the more you fly, the more miles you accumulate, and this will engage you to at least get a free trip or a free ticket. And money, this is a big thing now that is going on in Barbados. And I must say, it's taking off slowly, but it's slowly increasing, and persons are able to go to supermarkets or go to any business organization, and they can use their phone. As long as they have their phone, they download the app, and all that the person at the cashier will have to do is just scan that code, and bam, payment. Now, these types of alternative means of payments, you don't have to carry around or take around a lot of cash with you. But the main thing is cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency, what is cryptocurrency? We all ask the question, what is cryptocurrency? If I ask the question here, whoever heard about Bitcoin, everybody will put up their hand. But we ask you, what is it? None of you may be able to tell me exactly what is a Bitcoin. But cryptocurrency is a digital asset designed to work as a medium of exchange using cryptography to secure the transactions. And I think there's a distinction here. The type of technology it uses, the cryptography technology. Types of cryptocurrencies. Today, there are over 18,000 types of cryptocurrencies that exist. The most popular of these are Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Litecoin, and Dash. Now, when you look at the history of Bitcoin and these cryptocurrencies, it all began way back in 2008. I think this is the 10th anniversary now. And you had this guy, Satoshi Nakamoto. And I'm not sure if he's a guy or if he's a gal or if he's a business, because no one has been able to identify who this person is, right? But he came up with a white paper explaining how Bitcoin would operate. And from then, Bitcoin took off. In 2009, we had the first Bitcoin, right? In 2011, this guy, Satoshi, he disappeared. They can't find him out to know, but he disappeared with 1 million Bitcoins. And if you look at the value of a Bitcoin today, I can tell you is up to 6,200 and something US dollars. Now, imagine how much money Satoshi have. That is $6 billion. Right? So Bitcoin is a lucrative investment for all those who want to get involved. But what I can say is that it's lucrative because the price is high now, but it's highly volatile. Like sometime back in 2017, Bitcoin was trading at, I think, 11,000, 13,000 US dollars. And then, bam, it dropped suddenly all the way down to, I think, about 6,000 or 4,000. So it's highly volatile. So it's a risk involved when you want to trade in Bitcoin. But it isn't too late. You can start now. I think it's 6,000. That is a very good value. Blockchain technology. This is the technology which underpins all of those cryptocurrencies. It's a digital and decentralized ledger that records all transactions. And this is what I liked about the blockchain technology. The records are kept permanently. So that in that case, it helps to combat fraud. So even if you make, say, a transaction today, no one cannot go back in the blockchain with the blockchain technology and change the transaction. So you'll find that blockchain now, persons are using it not only for financial products, but in Estonia, I think in Estonia, yes, Estonia, persons are using it in general elections where you use in voting. I know we have a lot of fraud that goes on in general elections where you find that one person is voting 3, 4, and 5 times. Now this technology can be used to combat that. It's a peer-to-peer technology that allows you to safely transfer digital property like money without the need for a middleman. So I know a lot of persons in here are in the banking sector, and I know they fear that if this blockchain technology and these cryptocurrencies come on stream, that there won't be any use for the banks because the persons can deal directly with one another without having to go through the banks. I know there's also some concerns also that the bank fees are very high, and I think this is one of the reasons why the blockchain technology come about. But as I say, the decentralized ledger, I'm not one in favor of because it poses a lot of problems for law enforcement. I believe in the centralized ledger where you can go and you can obtain information if you need information as a law enforcement officer. And these are some of the properties of the blockchain technology. It's secure. It uses the cryptography encryption, so only the owner of the private key is able to send cryptocurrency. It's peer-to-peer, as I said before. And another thing about it is that it's irreversible. The transactions are irreversible. So if you make a mistake using cryptocurrency, let me say that it is irreversible. unless you know the person on the other end who is providing the service, it will not be reversed. And it's difficult, it's different to banks, because if you make a mistake, say you make a mistake in a business transaction, then bam, you can call your bank manager and say, listen, I made a mistake, can I get this reversed? And you may be able to get it reversed. With cryptocurrency, is irreversible. As I said, it's decentralized, right? So it's not like the banking sector where you have all the information at the banks. It's permissionless. You do not need permission to use cryptocurrency. All you need to do is just go download the software and you have your wallet, and then you can start trading. It's digital. It only exists on computers. The other day I was talking to a police officer, and I was asking him, how would you go about seizing cryptocurrency? And then I said, Bitcoin specifically. He said, man, listen, Bitcoin, man, we're going to look for these coins with a B on it. I said, really? I said, yes, you look at them online, there's a coin with a B on it. I said, boss, Bitcoins and these cryptocurrencies, they do not exist in a physical sense. What you're seeing is a logo. So you need to understand that what you're seeing is a logo. That B, that is a logo for the product. You will never ever find a Bitcoin in that sense. It's fast and global. That there is subjective, because as you will see with cryptocurrencies, some of the products, they take very long. How to buy a cryptocurrency? I think this is a very important point here, because, you know, as investors, you need to know how to access a cryptocurrency, sorry. You can purchase a cryptocurrency from what we would call exchanges. A cryptocurrency exchange is a business that allows customers to trade cryptocurrencies for other assets, such as conventional fiat money or other digital currencies. Now, there are various types of, what I would say, crypto exchanges. There are some crypto exchanges that only exchange cryptocurrency for other cryptocurrencies. And then there are others that exchange digital currencies, cryptocurrencies for fiat. And when you talk about fiat currency, I mean legal tender. Legal tender that is issued by the governments and by the central banks. Now, you need to register online with these exchanges, and then you can start purchasing cryptocurrency using your credit card, debit card, cash, or bank transfer. Now, many of these exchanges require you to provide identification information, but not all of them. And many of them are required. I mean, in the states are regulating it now, and different countries around the world, they are regulating these exchanges. So they have to carry out the customer due diligence and also the KYC, know your customer. Or, if you don't want to go through having to provide identification, then you can download the electronic wallet on your smartphone, put your cash in the ATM, scan the QR code, which is the quick response code, with your phone, and store the value in your cryptocurrency wallet. Now, I have a serious problem with this, because you could imagine criminals. A man robbed a bank, stole all the cash. He gone down the road, he found the Bitcoin machine, he insert the cash into the Bitcoin machine, scan it, and the value is stored on his phone. Now, he can easily leave the country. How can we tell that this man is a bank robber? How can we tell where the money is? So there are serious concerns here with the technology as far as it concerns the law enforcement. So that is how easy you can take cash and put it into a wallet. Cryptocurrency wallets. You heard me talking about cryptocurrency wallet. It's not like these normal wallets that you walk around with, these land wallets, these wallets that you will put inside your pocket or inside your bag. A cryptocurrency wallet, these are software programmed files that provide access to multiple addresses. So think of it like this. On your computer, you have what you would call a folder. Right? You understand what the folder? Inside that folder, you have files. Now, the folder for me is the wallet. And the files that goes into this folder, I will call the currency. Now, all of this exists. These are software. Now, you download the software on your computer or smartphone, and an address is created. Once an address is created, you have a pair of cryptographic keys being generated called a public key and a private key. Now, these keys are very important. If you don't have these keys, you cannot access Bitcoin. And I will go on and tell you about these keys. Oh, dear. What are you skipping? Okay, public keys and private keys. The public key is used to ensure that you are the owner of an address that can receive funds. And the private key is a digital signature that proves that you own the currency. Now, the way you explain this is like this. Your public key is your account number. And your private key is your personal identification number, which is your PIN number. Now, your account number you can share with anyone. You don't mind sharing that as long as the person is putting money on your account. You don't mind. But you do not share your PIN with anyone. But you need your PIN to access your account. We clear on that? So you have your public key and you have your private keys. Generally, there are two categories of wallets, cryptocurrency wallets. A software wallet, or sometimes what we call a hot wallet. And then you have the hardware wallet or cold wallet. And the difference between these wallets is that the software wallet, this is the wallet that you are always online with. This is the wallet that you use internet. The hardware wallet, you don't go online with it unless you're ready to make a transaction. And you'll see what I mean as I go on. Software wallets, these run on your desktop, computer, or mobile device. As I say, smartphones. There are also some web-based wallets that allows you to log in using an email or password. Computer wallets, well, these run on your desktop, user-friendly, interface, easy to use, and you usually have an icon. The most common wallets are Electrum, and these are some names I never heard of before, but these are the most common wallets: Electrum, Armory, Bitcoin Core, and Multibit HD. Mobile wallets, I think these are the interesting ones. These ones are very common. These wallets can run on your Android or your iPhone operating systems. They're user-friendly, they're just like a desktop. They're typically identified with an icon. So you can imagine a guy going through the airport with a Bitcoin wallet with millions of dollars. How do we know? So we don't have to walk around with cash, large bulks of cash, to be moving value. And this is an easy way for criminals to launder money. Online wallets. Online wallets, they're run on the cloud. And we have, you ever hear about OneDrive or Google Drive where you can store your files in the cloud? Well, this is similar to those. All you need to log in is your information, username and password. Online wallets, they store your private keys online, and they are controlled by a third party, which makes them vulnerable to hacking. Once your files are there in the cloud, anyone can pass and take them out of the cloud. And this is the least secure method of wallets. So I will not advise any person to have an online wallet. But the thing is about it, the advantage about it is that you can access it anywhere in the world. You don't have to be here in Barbados, you can access it wherever you go. Sorry, in Grenada, sorry. Hardware wallets. For me, these are the better type of wallets. They're different from software wallets in that they store a user's private key on a hardware device like a USB. Now, anytime you see this word treasure or keep key, then you know this is a hardware wallet, right? They're very hard. They're very hard to crack because the persons, when they are using them, they go online, and where they're finished, they disconnect them. So you cannot hack them that easily. And as I said, the most common wallets are Treasure, the Keep Key, the Ledger Nano, and the Digital Boss. And these are just some of the pictures here. So you may think a fellow just got a little USB. No, it may be a wallet. Then you have paper wallets. It's just like printing the cryptocurrency private key on a piece of paper. These here are vulnerable because if you get this piece of paper and you take a picture of it, you can access somebody's Bitcoin wallet easily. So I will not advise you to have a paper wallet. They had a story where this guy, I think in the early days, he had a Bitcoin, a news anchor, and he was showing it off. He's showing it off on television. And a guy took a picture of it, and by the time he got home, he lost all his Bitcoin. Because, you know, you have the private key there, and you have the public key. How blockchain technology works. And this is just an illustration here. For example, someone requests a transaction. The transaction now is broadcast throughout the network to all the peer-to-peer computers, and we call them nodes. So you have, say, everyone here is on the blockchain technology, and I want to purchase, say, or I want to send a Bitcoin here. Everyone in here will know that I'm sending a Bitcoin. Everyone on the network. So after now it is broadcast on the network, then it goes to what we would call verification process, where there are several computers, and we call them miners. You may hear this word, miners. Miners look to validate the transaction. So they'll be checking and checking and checking. And these are very fast computers, and they use a lot of energy. That's one of the things that we will see later as a drawback to cryptocurrencies. They utilize a lot of energy. And then once the miners have verified the transaction, then several transactions are combined together to form a block. And once you form the block, then the block is added to the chain. So that is where you get blockchain. And then after the chain is formed, is gone to the chain, then the transaction is completed. Now this here is a lot of technological thing. I know we are only interested in these two stages. You pay the money and someone receive it. Right? But there's a lot that go into it. It's a lot of technology, and it ensures that your transaction is secure. Cryptocurrencies in the Caribbean? Sure. Eastern Caribbean, they're partnering with BIT in a pilot project. In Barbados, we're saying that we have prime ministerial push when it comes to BIT. Found that the Prime Minister, she's out and open, she's supporting it. She thinks that is a good innovation. I also agree. I don't think that we should stifle innovation when it comes to technological development. We also have money in the Caribbean, and the Bitcoin machines. They have about 5 jurisdictions within the Caribbean that have Bitcoin machines. We have one in Barbados, they have one in Aruba, they have one in St. Kitts, and I think they have one in Anguilla. So cryptocurrencies are here, so we have to deal with it. You know, when cryptocurrencies first were launched, there was a wait and see what is going to happen to it. Is it going to fade away? Is it just a fad? But no, it seems like it's developing, and it's something that we have to pay attention to. Are we ready yet for these cryptocurrencies? That is a question that everyone is trying to answer. But for me, I don't think that we are ready as yet. From a law enforcement point of view, we see that cryptocurrencies, it could be object of criminality, for example, hacking, theft. They can be used to purchase illicit goods, or they can be proceeds from crime. As I say, you can convert money, the fiat currency, into cryptocurrency, or it can be used to finance terrorism. These here are some of the major thefts in the world as it relates to cryptocurrency. In 2014, Mt. Gox exchange, it was hacked, 480 million worth in Bitcoin. 2017, we had another case, NiceHash, a crypto mining marketplace, 63 million worth in Bitcoin was stolen. 2018, CoinCheck exchange, 500 million in Bitcoin. And so far, and these figures, I researched this last week, about 1.1 billion worth of cryptocurrency was stolen in the first half of 2018. So if you need to invest in cryptocurrency, you have to think security. Security is a big thing. Because when you look at it, before this money being stolen, is it being insured? Are insurance companies actually insuring Bitcoins? Europool Seizure, dark web store. Here we find that criminals were using cryptocurrency to purchase a lot of stuff, drugs. They were purchasing a lot of illicit stuff, such as weapons. And the police, the European police, Europol, this is one of the biggest busts that they had. 510 Bitcoin seized, 1.6 million in banks, 700,000 euros in cash. So we are seeing that Bitcoins and cryptocurrencies, they are being used in criminal activity. And this is a concern for us in law enforcement. Investigative and prosecutorial capacity. Well, for me, we need to develop and improve the capacity of law enforcement, especially in the areas of digital forensics and analytics. This training should also include the prosecutors, the magistrates, judges, and the regulatory authorities. We at the RSS-ARU, we engage in a lot of training persons involved in financial investigations. As I said, we also sensitize prosecutors, magistrates, and judges. So we are working closely with the law enforcement and these people in criminal justice system. So we have, for next year, what we are looking to do, we're looking to roll out a training program across the jurisdictions. And this training program will target cryptocurrencies and cryptocurrencies investigations. Consumer protection. I think this is another area that we need to look at. What if there's a mistake, as I alluded to earlier? What if there's a mistake for transaction? Is there a facility for chargeback given the irreversibility nature of blockchain? No, we don't have that as yet. Will such transaction be covered by insurance? I'm not sure if there are any insurance companies that cover these transactions as yet. But we need to know that, because if you invest your money in Bitcoin and then you lose it to hackers, who will repay you? Who will compensate you? So what we need to do, we need to consider extending consumer protection laws to include cryptocurrencies. Energy costs. Large amounts of energies are being used in the process of mining. It's estimated that Bitcoin mining industry consumes 24 terawatt hours of energy annually, which amounts to 14,117,647.0 barrels of oil equivalently. Do we have that amount of oil in the Caribbean? Now, the amount of energy that is being used here is enough to run the country of Ireland for 1 year. For 1 year. Now, I don't think that we in the Caribbean, we could actually handle this type of energy cost. Where it stands now, we are paying high electricity bills. So you can imagine now what it would take if we are using cryptocurrencies down here, if we are mining them. Legal framework. Well, cryptocurrencies, they are not legal tender, but at the same time, they are not illegal. Right? They are legal. There's currently no specific legislation passed by countries in the region to deal with cryptocurrencies. Countries need to look at their legislation to see if cryptocurrencies can fit under the legislation that they have now, and if they don't, and if they cannot fit, then you will need to have some amendments to deal with them, or you can pass new legislation. It depends on how you're looking to regulate these cryptocurrencies. Regulation. At present, only 3 countries in the world recognize Bitcoin as legal tender. That is Japan, Russia, and South Korea. United Kingdom, United States, and Canada, well, they have not recognized it as legal tender as yet. But what they're requiring is that registration for the exchanges. Algeria, Colombia, and Bolivia, well, they are banned. those countries do not recognize cryptocurrencies. China, cryptocurrency is legal, but in 2017, all initial coin offerings, businesses, and exchanges were banned. And initial coin offerings is like you're looking to start up a business. Now, you don't have the startup capital. So what you do, you offer coins or part of coins to other persons to invest. So they will pay for these coins, and they will give you money to start up your business. Now, initial coin offerings, they are causing a problem as far as regulation, because a lot of persons involved in initial coin offerings, and you must be careful, they are involved in fraud. They are fraudulent schemes, sometimes Ponzi schemes. So what you're seeing now is that countries are looking to regulate these initial coin offerings. European Union, well, their member countries is not legal tender theirs yet, but they issue a directive requiring member states to put measures in place to regulate exchanges and to bring them into compliance. So you find out that rather than targeting the blockchain technology, they are targeting the exchanges. Financial Action Task Force, and I'm sure many of you have heard about FATF, is an intergovernmental organization which sets standards and promotes the implementation to combat money laundering and terrorist financing and proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. Now, a recent development, which is a very important one for persons involved in the financial sector, is that FATF recently recommended, and sometime I think last week or week before, that jurisdictions are to put measures in place to ensure that digital assets providers, exchanges and wallet providers of financial services for ICOs are subject to AML/CTF regulations. So this is an additional regulation that countries will have to put measures in place to comply with. I think they are 40 plus 9, so they may be 40 plus 10 now. So it's here, people. We have to put measures in place to combat and to deal with cryptocurrencies. And that is the end of my presentation. I hope I haven't been over the time. Are there any questions, queries? I know it's a technical area. Sometimes it really confuses me because the language a lot of language and terms are being used, but cryptocurrency is something that is here to stay. I think is, we cannot stifle innovation and development. We need to work with it and see how best, it can benefit us.
So thank you very much. You can have your seat and we'll proceed. What we will do now is to invite the discussant to take off on some of the key points that were raised by the presenter. We also want you to take note of your questions, and when the time comes, keep them short and to the point. Now, our discussants are Mr. Teron Greenidge from the Financial Intelligence Unit, and we have Mr. Anthony Edwards from GARFIN. So I will now hand over to our two discussants to take the topic forward.
Anyone go first? Want to go first? We'll list it first.
Okay. Thank you very much, and good night, everyone. I think it's important that we recognize, from the law enforcement standpoint, what we need to recognize is that we have laws in Grenada that speaks to financial investigation. We have the FATF recommendation, which Grenada is a party to. We would have also enacted our laws, which speaks to the regulation and guidelines. But what is important, though, although digital instruments is not part of the law, but of course, when it comes to regulation, we speak of issues of customers' due diligence, recognizing customers' products and services, and financial institutions, for example, once they have a product, they have to surely follow the guidelines and regulation. And this is very important. So to say that we haven't got laws, I think we do have something in place, at least to start. So if cryptocurrency comes into our shoes, we are able to enforce in some form. Yeah, I think this is very important to note from the financial investigation standpoint. From the supervisory aspect of things, we have to recognize as well that the FIU serve a very important role along with the AML-CFT Commission in ensuring that financial institutions are in line with those guidelines and regulation. Yeah. Customers' identification information is critical. And in recent times, we heard a lot of things in relation to information in relation to ownership. Yeah, beneficial ownership. Again, the thing is critical that we understand that once we set up and these persons come on our shows to operate, this is the first thing that we are going to look at, beneficial ownership. So once we have that in place and we have the customer's service information in place, I think we are well on our way to start the process. So definitely from the supervisory standpoint, from the FIU and then the investigative standpoint, I think we have something in place to start with. But it's really a new topic, definitely is a new topic. And in order to have a strength in the investigation process, we definitely will have to make amendments to our laws. And there is no question about that. But to start with, definitely we have something that we can start with.
I have to go to PowerPoint presentation. So I have to go there. I was told that I have 5 minutes. We put something on PowerPoint, so I'm going to go through that as quickly as possible. But before I start, let me just apologize for the absence of Mr. Dennis Felix, who is the acting executive director of GARFIN. He should have been standing right here, but unfortunately, he had an engagement with officials from the International Monetary Fund. Probably they are still meeting, so he asked me to stand in for him. We are going to concentrate mainly on regulation, monitoring, and supervision. That's where it will be based. Okay, brief overview. We're going to look at GARFIN, give you a little information as to when GARFIN started and what it was intended to do. Amendment to the GARFIN Act. And this is what is bringing us into fintech operation and cryptocurrency. The Regulatory Oversight Committee on Fintech Operation and the ECCB Advisory on Fintech. I'm going a little bit too fast here. Okay, GARFIN, Grenada Authority for the Regulation of Financial Institutions, was established in February 2007. By 2008, there was an amendment. We're not going to look at this. We're going to look at another amendment. GARFIN was empowered to administer 12 enactments. Major ones are the Insurance Act, the Cooperative Societies Act, the International Companies Act, Grenada Development Bank Act, the Offshore Bank Act, Building Society Act. These are the major ones. Fintech operation and cryptocurrency and related financial services are not addressed by any of these enactments. So nothing in there tells you how to deal with fintech operation or cryptocurrency. So where are we? GARFIN Amendment Act of 2013. That is the one that's bringing us in. Apparently, the people who drafted realized that they made a mistake or they left out something, so they are going to insert it now. A new section to section 33, and it is referred to as 33A. And that's how it is called. Grenada Authority for the Regulation of Financial Institutions Amendment Act number 8 of 2013. My boss told me, make sure you say it right, because there may be people there who will be writing this down and going and research it. And the title of it is Licensing of Other Entities by Minister on Recommendation of the Authority. You'll see the quotation marks. 33A, subsection 1. No entity offering financial services and products shall offer shall operate in or from Grenada unless licensed in Grenada. How do we license them? Section 3, subsection 3. The Minister of Finance, on the recommendation of the authority, may, look at this word, license any entity offering financial services and products in or from Grenada not covered under any other enactments. So the 12 that we have, it's not there. Even though it is not there in any other legislation, GARFIN now has to take control. I just wanted to let you know, for the purpose of this amendment and this section, what is the meaning of financial services? For the purpose of this section, financial services includes any activity involving the management of funds or risk on behalf of another person, including, but not limited to, the acceptance of deposits, granting of loans, coverage of risk, transfer of funds, purchase and sale of securities, managing of trust, purchase and sale of foreign currency. So that is what the area we have to cover. Currently, well, the gentleman who spoke just now from the FIA said that there are some legislation in place, and from his point of view, the police public can work. From our point of view, we cannot work. Currently, there exists no specific legislation or regulatory cover for financial operation, cryptocurrency, and related technology in the state of Grenada. I put in bracket, none of that exists in the rest of the ECCU member states. They don't have it, we don't have it. No registered fintech operation in the state of Grenada at this time. We don't know of any because they have to be licensed. Any such entity must obtain a license. So what do we do from here? Do we fold our arms and say, let us wait for the powers that be to tell us what to do? No. We are moving on. Regulatory Oversight Committee. What is this? That committee was put into place on an initiative by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank to bring the 3 regulatory bodies within the ECCU so we can have ease of transfer of communication, ease of transfer of information, and so on, to strengthen regulation within the ECCU. So it is made up of regulators of non-bank financial institutions. GARFIN is there. The FSA in St. Vincent is there, and so on. The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, all the meetings that we have is shared by the governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. And the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission. These are the 3 regulatory bodies making up the Regulatory Oversight Committee, refers to the ROC. I want to refer to a meeting that we had in St. Kitts, July 3rd, 2018. So all the regulators from the ECC member states, ECCU, the ECCB, and the Securities Commission. First of all, we agreed in principle to support innovations and emerging trends in financial technology. It's coming, so we have to get ready for it. ROC confirmed, and look at my quotation marks, I'm quoting directly now from the ROC advisory, that existing regulatory frameworks in the ECCU do not provide the supervisory and regulatory structure required for these matters. And these are people reporting from all the different islands. And the third one, the ROC has agreed that all applications submitted to regulatory authorities in each member jurisdiction would be put on hold at this time. So we agreed to that. Applications coming to St. Vincent, they shouldn't go ahead and do anything. They should put it on hold. Grenada, same thing, and all the other islands. ROC to allocate resources, so we have to do something. And the resources will be allocated so we can prepare draft legislation for licensing fintech and cryptocurrency operation, prepare draft legislation for supervision of fintech and cryptocurrency operations, and update the ECCU member authorities on same. So we are working together so that we can have legislation in place. We have to license, and we have to regulate, supervise, and monitor. Now, the act that I referred to, the amendment I referred to earlier on, where the act gave the power to GARFIN to license or make recommendation to the minister to license any operators or any entity coming in with fintech operations. Only Grenada has that piece of legislation. The other islands don't have it. So probably you might say we were just one notch ahead of them. The ROC went ahead and established what is called a FinTech working group. And that group is responsible for doing a number of things. Monitor developments in FinTech, identify the risk to the ECC's financial system, propose the regulatory framework for the risk identified, develop a framework for regulation of FinTech, propose any amendment to existing legislation in member countries which allow for the approval of FinTech operation. You know, somewhere in the Bible, I think it says, Jesus Christ was speaking and he said, not one jot or one tittle is going to pass from my word. GARFIN is part of this. We want to make sure that we don't miss one jot or one tittle when it comes to developing necessary legislation and developing the necessary regulatory framework. So we are on board again. ECCB. I placed this within the presentation because the ECCB also has a working group. And the ROC working group works along with the ECCB's working group. ECCB advisory on FinTech operation. I'm quoting from an advisory that was released on 4th of June 2018. It highlights that the ECCB is aware of the emergence of several initiatives which enter into direct competition with traditional financial services such as digital wallets, crypto assets, and initial coin offerings in the ECCU. That the ECCB supports and encourages financial innovation and believes that financial innovation is essential as our region forges a path of socio-economic transformation. So we're working with them. Further, the ECCB, in collaborating with domestic and other regional regulators, which means the regulators in the ECCU, that includes GARFIN, is reviewing existing laws to identify changes which may be required to ensure adequate regulatory cover for these initiatives, thus supporting innovations while ensuring consumer protection. In this process of review, the ECCB is also encouraging service providers in the FinTech industry on how best to support FinTech operation. So they are going along a little faster than us, but they are pulling us along with them. Additionally, the ECCB in its strategic plan 2017 to 2021 has made provision for a FinTech pilot, which includes the digital EC currency and the modernization of its payment system. I do not have much information on that, but what I know is we are planning to use the pilot with 2 islands from the ECCU region, one from the Leeward Islands and one from the Windward Islands. Hopefully, Grenada and GARFIN might be there. Don't know yet. Development work in this.
Respectfully, we'd ask you to put a wrap on it because we have a next presentation. So,
so
thank you there. I saw thank you. Did I say thank you?
In retrospect, this is what Grenada, in terms of FinTech operation in Grenada, this is what it's based on. Licensing and legislation, collaborating with the ECCU and with the ECCU member territories and with the ECCB. Thank you very much.
I was going pretty fast, but my speed was not enough.
Yes, it's moving as quickly as the cryptocurrency themselves. You made it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is your turn to do the talking, and the panel will have to respond to you. There's a mic in the middle. We'd ask you to make your way to the mic, speak clearly so that you can be heard both here and on the internet. It's very important that you keep the questions flowing. Don't be afraid, but keep the preamble at a reasonable length. Senator Diali, you have one? Yeah. Mr. Bradford, please. And what we can do is just form the line. Don't wait because every second counts. You see, so just line up behind Mr. Bradford if you have a question and just proceed.
In terms of beneficial ownership in cryptocurrency, how can we address this? This is the question I'd like to ask the panel.
the issue is really, well, from the FATF standpoint, I think we know that in recent times they have been speaking heavily on beneficial ownership. And what is important is that any company that is established, whether financial or whatever else, this is something that we have to engage them on, having beneficial ownership information, knowing who are the owners and not necessarily directors. The directors for sure is one, but who are definitely the beneficial owners, who are the owners of these companies. I think from the registry standpoint, information can be had from the registry standpoint in Grenada, but of course, as I said, what you will find is more director, who are the owner directors. But I think we have to move in that direction. I think the registry have also stepped upon that in being able to identify and ask companies to recognize who the owners, the beneficial owners are.
On a short comment and then a question. My comment on this blockchain technology, of course, business to business and pay to pay operations is not going to is going to influence and move us in the direction of this technology faster than normal because of the cost and the flexibility that it offers. So if I'm operating in a company out of Sweden and I have to make payments, the cost of going through the traditional banking system and having to deal with wire transfers and so on, and especially against the background that we are being threatened in our region to remove corresponding banking relationships, I cannot see how this technology for small island countries like ourselves is going to not accelerate. The question for me is, based on the volatility of the medium through Bitcoins and so on, what it is we're doing on the regulatory framework to ensure that we have a necessary protection. Our central bank is already moving to digitize and to reduce the cost of physical cash, which we all welcome to some degree, but how do we ensure the regulatory framework is going to cover this digital world? And as you rightfully pointed out, Attorney, where is the start and stop of the transaction? So if there is fraud, where do we capture it? And I think that is a challenge that we face.
That is a very good question, and that is something that we are trying to grapple with now in law enforcement. What measures would be put in place to combat, like, for example, these products being used to facilitate money laundering and terrorist financing and fraud? It's very difficult, and you will find that what's happening now in the international world is, rather than trying to regulate the technology, the blockchain technology, what they're regulating now are the exchanges. So they believe that if they go after the exchanges, regulate the exchanges, and the exchanges, you make it mandatory that they have to conduct KYC, know your customer, and customer due diligence, then we'll be able to have information on the persons. Although it's pseudonymous, where that you use a pseudonym, and you cannot tell who's the person that is behind the transaction. But the thing is that so far in the world, the law enforcement officers, they are able to identify the person. So where the criminals believe that they cannot be caught with this technology, they can. Because with the blockchain technology, do remember that it always leave a trace. Any transaction that you make, it is permanent in the blockchain. And that is what is so special about the blockchain technology. The thing is, for law enforcement officers, you need to understand the technology, how it works.
The follow-up question is, where we prosecute?
Where we
Where are we going to do the prosecution? Under which jurisdiction and which law?
Well,
Challenge I see.
I understand, but we can prosecute here. If the crime happens here, or part of the crime happens here, we have jurisdiction. So, for example, in money laundering, if a crime has been committed, say, in another jurisdiction, and the money has been laundered here, you can prosecute the crime here. When you look at the money laundering poker legislation, you can prosecute the crime here, right? Or you can prosecute it in another country, but you have jurisdiction to prosecute the crime. So I understand what you're saying, I understand the concerns. As I saying, I have my concerns also, because from a background of law enforcement, I see it as a threat. I see it as a threat to, you know, financial stability. I feel it's a threat, and you know, it could facilitate money laundering. But I know you understand where you're coming from. But it's just like the internet when you first began, you know. There was some skepticism about the internet. But the thing is, as we move on, and as time moves on, and we get to learn about the internet, it becomes easier. What we need to know is the technology behind it. We need to study. You understand? We need to create some training opportunities for the law enforcement officers, for all those involved in, say, the banking sector, the persons prosecuting, the person in magistrates, the judges. We need to enlighten these persons on the type of technology, because this is the way forward, and I don't think there's any going backward. Right? This is the way forward, and we need to keep pace with it. So I think there's need for continuous training, and that is something that we are going to look to roll out. But there have been cases which have been successfully investigated. I know, for example, there is a matter that was going on in the U.S. in relation to where they're saying that Russia, they were interfere with the elections. Now, they have evidence, and the evidence that they had, and they trace it back to the Russians, the Russians use the blockchain technology. They use it as a method of payment, right? And they were able to trace it back. So although you're using a pseudonym, it can still be traced back to you. It's just a matter of knowing how to investigate. And I think that is something that we fear. We fear in this technology because we're saying, well, hey, it's pseudonymous. Anonymous. You can't tell who the person behind it, right? So, but I don't think there's no need to fear. It's just a matter of knowing. Yeah, but they can investigate the crime. Yes.
Right. So, Attorney Searles indicated that the value of the Bitcoin some years ago would have been in the vicinity of 11,000 for Bitcoin.
Yes.
And in recent times, it would have dropped to around 6,000. Right. What are some of the factors contributing towards the volatility or the fluctuation in the value of the Bitcoin?
What I would say is that persons generally, they have not fully accepted Bitcoin. There's still some skepticism around it, right? But what you will find is that a lot of young persons, what we would call millennials, they are the one that pushing it. But you find that the older folks, they say, no, I am not with this technology. There's something wrong here. This is too good to be true. So you find that it will have a high volatility. Today is up, a lot of persons investing in it, and then tomorrow is down. And for me, that is a concern that I have. Because, for example, if you are conducting, say, a business, and you enter a contract today, right? And when you enter the contract, the Bitcoin will say worth, say, $100. But by the time the payment is made, the Bitcoin is worth $50. So you see that there's a problem there. So there's some skepticism when it comes to Bitcoin. But, you know, as I say, over the years, I think it would flatten out. I think you won't have those high peaks and drops. I think it would flatten out. So far, $6,000, it was that way for a couple months now. So I think it's around 6,000, then go up to 6,005, then drop to 6,000. So it's slowly flattening out. But, you know, the interest in it, and people saying it is a very lucrative product, so everybody wants to invest, so it spikes. Then after a while, it drops. Now, in existence, in circulation, so far, there are about 17 million Bitcoins thus far. And when they get to, say, 21 million, they're going to start making Bitcoins. So when they get around there now, I think it's gonna drop and it's going to flatten out. So it's only because the interest in it is high now that everyone wants to invest. Now, for me, if I had invested when it first came out and it was about $20 for a Bitcoin, I could tell you I'd be a billionaire now. It may not be here. And they have some stories where when Bitcoin first was launched, they had a story where these guys decide that they're going to pay Papa John's 10 Bitcoin to deliver some pizza. I think it's around 10 Bitcoins. So you can imagine those are the most expensive pizzas in history. Because when you look at it, back in 2017, I think it's around $17,000 for one Bitcoin. So it created instant millionaires, and there are a lot of persons who want to jump on the bandwagon. So what, these people instant millionaires? I want to get it. But right now, Bitcoin is at 6,000. So if you can afford it, well, I think you can get involved. But the thing is, there's a risk in it, because tomorrow it could be down to $300 or $100. So
thank you very much, Council. Dr. Sandiford.
Good night. Thank you very much for some interesting observations that you made. A few questions I have. First of all, would you make a distinction between electronic money and digital currency? The reason why I'm asking that is that it seems to me there may be a presumption that they're one and the same. I'm not sure about that. So that's the first one. You want me to finish all, or you take them one by one?
All of them for me?
No, anyone.
No,
or from the audience as well. So that's the first one.
No, I'll moderate. It's better if we take them, if you give us all,
yeah,
so we could proceed and respond.
All right.
So just take a note.
The observation that
you won't go too fast. The first one is the
distinction between electronic money and digital currency.
Thank you.
Do you make such a distinction? And if so, what is the distinction? The observation that you made, this one is from Mr. Searles, it is, that, but my understanding of the blockchain technology is that it's difficult to, if not impossible, to break. So what ran through my mind was how was someone, a hacker, able to steal? Yeah? That's the second one. Third one, I'm not sure that cryptocurrency is money, and because money has specific characteristics. In particular, it must be a store of value, a medium of exchange, and a unit of account. And to the extent that cryptocurrency does not have any one of those, then I'm not sure it can fall under the rubric of money. That being said, why would I do transactions using Bitcoin, for example, or any other cryptocurrency, knowing that the value of it fluctuates? It's an asset, it seems to me, as distinct from money. That's the second. Third, fourth one.
You go down to the fifth one.
No, that's the fourth. You declared that in Japan, Russia, and South Korea, cryptocurrencies have been declared legal tender, which means they are on par. Let's take Japan with the Japanese yen, which means a Japanese can use a cryptocurrency to purchase a medical visit. Yeah? I'm not sure, because it raises questions of, and this is the final one, I guess, of how does the Bank of Japan now deals with monetary policy when there's no control over cryptocurrency? And I guess that applies to the Eastern Caribbean as well, because if you bring it here, how do you control the money supply if you can use it to transact? Remember, the money supply, would influence the level of credit and consequently the level of economic activity in the economy. And if you have no control over it, then how do you conduct monetary policy? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Just let me. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Sandiford. I'm not going to answer any of the questions. Just to say that the rules of economics and monetary policy are being turned upside down, inside out. And as people belonging to the not so old school, and having been taught by you, Doc, I could understand your difficulty.
Okay, Dr. Sandiford, let me start with the second one. How were the hacker able to steal this money if his technology is that secure? And I think this is the simple one. Eh? Once man creates something, right, man can break it. So these hackers, they are just as skillful as the persons that create the blockchain technology. That is what I would say. You have hackers out there who sit down with some powerful computers and, you know, you don't want to get into technology, and they're working and they have codes going wrong. And sooner or later, they'll be able to hack any technology. But for me, the blockchain technology is supposed to be secure, but as we've seen, there were lots of thefts that were going on. I think that is a concern for us as well. For example, if you're looking to invest your money and you're investing your money in a cryptocurrency and they have exchanges here, then the security will need to be tighter. So we will move on. The difference between electronic money and digital currency. Now for me, I do believe the electronic money is money that is attached to your fiat currency. I think it is money that is on par with your fiat currency. Like if you're conducting any transaction, this transaction will be connected to your bank account. Digital currency does not necessarily connect to your bank account. Digital currency is as this, what I would say, in the digital world, is not physical. In relation to whether these cryptocurrencies are assets or not, that is a debate that is going on. They're saying that it's not a store of value, but when you look at it, it actually stores value. Because look at it, it's $6,000, so there's value. A medium of exchange. I would say that is a medium of exchange because people are purchasing services and goods and services with it. So it is a debate that will go backward and forward, but you can say that is an asset, because you're investing in it. So it could go as an asset or currency. I mean, it's either or, is like calling it a dog or calling it a puppy, but all is the same, right? So I know there's some contention out there, crypto asset, cryptocurrency, but as long as you can purchase things with it, as long as you can store value, for me, it's like a currency. It's similar. So I won't go down to the nitty-gritty and say, well, hey, it's an asset. Right? But as I say, it's an investment also as well. So I will not go into that. What's the next question then?
Japan and the control of monetary policy.
Japan. Well, I am not sure if I can explain that. I know that Japan, they have legalized cryptocurrencies. How they are battling with it, I am not sure. But for me, both are legal tenders. The yen and the cryptocurrency are legal tenders. So maybe it's like an operation here. You have EC currency and you have United States currency, and both operating and existing in the same market. So I think that I don't see any problem there. Well, as long as it's legal, I think it's okay.
Okay. But Doc, we want to put her up on it.
I'm not, the question is not whether or not cryptocurrency is legal, as distinct from whether or not it is legal tender. It's two fundamentally different things.
Yes.
Legal in the sense that you can conduct business, as it were, using cryptocurrency, as distinct from it being legal tender, which puts it on par with the Japanese yen.
Right,
and
I'm not sure that
Council, let me suggest that there's a reception afterwards when we refresh ourselves and continue the one-on-one debate. But in the interest of time, please indulge me. I would like to introduce my colleague, who is the Managing Director of RBTT, Mr. Musa Jassat, to introduce the second panel. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to moderate the second segment of our program this evening. And if there's one thing that stood out from the first segment is the extent to which technology has taken us and what is possible today. So it is in that regard that the second segment, we'll be focusing on restructuring and transforming your business to take advantage of opportunities in the digital environment. And it is my distinct pleasure to introduce a son of the soil, young son of the soil, and technotrepreneur. Don't want to get my tongue twisted. There's a lot of solid credentials of Mr. Noel, but I just want to highlight the first paragraph. So Clevon has over 15 years experience in website and e-commerce development and management. He has served in the capacity of lead software engineer for many regional and international projects, including the development of web-based tourism intelligence information system for the OECS. Ladies and gentlemen, I now introduce Mr. Clevon Noel.
Good evening, and thank you, Mr. Musa, for this wonderful introduction, and thanks to the organizers for allowing me the opportunity to speak on this interesting topic here today. Today has been a very exciting day, well, at least for me, and in recognition of Child's Month, my wife and I launched our Jolly Leapers, jollyleapers.gd e-commerce platform, the first ever online store built by Grenadians for Grenadians. I am super excited about that, and I believe it will revolutionize how Grenadians shop. Thank you. Now, Mr. Andrew has done a wonderful presentation and gave some great insights about payment system and the use of cryptocurrency. Well, let me just narrow it down to say, open it up, sorry, to say blockchain technology. And as you can see, these technologies is revolutionizing a cross-section of industries, be it government, health, agriculture, and the financial sector, no exception. And then just a typical example of, in terms of the blockchain technology, just to tie into what Mr. Andrew has said, in a recent paper, I think don't call them banana coin, where in Loas, the China economy, there is like 18 plantations in the China economy that went down, and so there is an increase in demand for bananas. So these couple of guys came together, used blockchain technology to create a crowdsourcing platform, allowing them to, be able to supply these 18 different plantations in terms of in China, and basically the persons investing can get a return on investment based on 1 kilogram of banana. And now they're expanding. So this is just the agriculture sector, but they're expanding now to do mangoes and other stuff. I believe you will agree with me that the reason why we're here in this room today is not necessarily the challenges that technology may bring, but more of the opportunities it brings. Therefore, there is a need for us to restructure and transform our business to take advantages of these opportunities in the digital environment. Now, I represent a company called Sonover. We are a local software company. We've been in existence for the past 4 years and providing services for locally, regionally, and internationally. So there has been a lot of talk about digital transformation. In order to transform and restructure your business, you have to go through the process of digital transformation. Now, do you believe that digital transformation, just show by your hand if you believe that digital transformation is about technology, it's a bunch of AIs and robots, and so just show by your hands if you think that digital transformation is about technology. Okay, just a few persons. No, so what do we mean by digital transformation? How does a business that we started before the digital era evolve in order to reach the next profitable growth in the digital economy? This is a different question to how do I build the next great startup, the next Airbnb, the next Amazon? That's a matter of looking at the world around you, consumer trend, new opportunities, seizing opportunities to create value. Digital transformation is not about technology. Digital transformation is about redefining the value proposition. And then to deliver that value proposition, you have to go through the process of redesigning or restructuring your company. In other words, how do you take an existing business that has customer, it has brand reputation, distribution channels, has organizational structures, and talents and capabilities inside? How does that business actually change? It really starts with the shift in the mindset of how you think like a business, much more than it's about the change in technology you deploy. Now, in a recent engagement with one of our clients, they was basically they have this challenge of dealing with a number of calls coming to the office. And so, well, they're quite understaffed. So most of the times, the staff is dealing with these customers in office, so the phone is always being, is not attended to. So this client called me, asked me for a solution. And I came and I said, well, okay, if you need to do something, maybe you can have an online platform. You do your website, give these customers, when they have their items, you give them a number, and they could use that number to track and see if their items is actually here. Because that's what the main reason why a customer was calling anyway, is either to see that the item is here. And I went on to say that, well, the client was asking, so what does it cost me? He wanted a holistic view, and I'll go on to, when I'm talking about my couple of points, he wanted a holistic view of what that would actually cost. And so he was not thinking about the technology or the value going to bring for the customer, but more so the spend on that technology. Digital transformation is something that can acquire, Digital transformation is not something that can acquire in a blink of an eye, and it can be very challenging. Now, because it's a challenge, I want to spend the next couple of minutes helping you understand how you can go about restructuring and transforming your company to take advantage of opportunities in the digital era. Now, David Roger, a Colombian business school scholar, yes, so David Roger, a Colombian business school scholar, in his book, The Digital Transformation Playbook, came up with 5 domains of digital transformation that businessmen and women must master in order to successfully guide the future growth of their firms. We have to change the way we think about our customers, our competition, our data, the innovation, and values. Now, for the customer, I believe is the center of digital transformation. When we think about customers, there has been a broad shift from mass market, where value is created from economy of scale, innovation, and communication from one direction to the customer. You produce advertisement, the customer see that ad, and then they purchase your products and services based on the ad that they see. But today, digital technology has changed the way we connect and create value with our customer. The communication and reviews provided on from customer position them as the biggest influencer than that of advertisement. They use social media tools such as Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp to influence the purchasing and the buying of these products and services. Additionally, this dynamic participation of customers can become a critical driver to business success. So certainly we really have to rethink our customer and how do they purchase our products and service. The second domain is competition. Now there has been a shift. There has been a shift in terms of competition with it being black and white. If I were to use an example, where RBTT is competing with the cooperative bank. Now this has shifted to a more systematic competition, where this opened out to different businesses that come into that industry. And maybe I could use a local example, for instance, Coates. You know, Coates has been supplying furnitures and so forth. But now they're into the financial, providing small loans for customers. Even so, they even, not to just market them, but they open up to having business partners and working with these business partners to ensure that the customer is getting those items. So as you can see, there is not black and white, but this is more companies coming together and meeting those customer needs. The third domain of, before I go to the third, a similar example. I haven't figured out the clickers yet. Another example in the hotel sector. I think this one is really, really changing things now. Where you see competition, you would think as Shublu or Radisson or Koyabo, Calabash offering the similar service, where competition is between them. But now, Airbnb has changed the environment for these entities, where as a platform, it opens up other providers to provide accommodation services to this entity. So they really have to rethink their competitors and be able to produce to the customer value. So the third domain of strategy. Now, business always uses data, but traditionally, it was part of how you operate your business, how you kept track of things, how you measure results, performance. It was much more operational. Thus, managing this data, you have to purchase and maintain a massive IT infrastructure. Instead, today, data is becoming a source of value creation. This requires us to gain a holistic view of our business, a holistic view of our customers, and bring upon us to create new opportunities that don't exist before. And really seeing that data as a key strategic asset, much like a brand, something you have to invest in for the future, something that is actually going to lead newer value creation in the future, whatever business model it is. And the cloud-based system for storing data are increasingly getting cheaper, and it's readily available and easy to use. So you don't have to manage those facilities at your workplace. You can use like something like Amazon Cloud, where they already have a team built in for security and maintenance of this infrastructure. So after you find a way to drive value from information from the ever-expanding stored data, it becomes critical to your next stage of your products and services. And the fourth domain of strategy is innovation. Now, traditionally, you look at a problem generally to generate new ideas, analytics, then maybe discuss it with your team, then you design a product, you build that product, you launch, and then you market to your customer and get customer feedback. Now, usually this innovation is driven from the top-down approach, from the CEO or from the board. Traditionally, innovation was expensive, high risk. Testing new ideas was difficult and costly. So business relied on their managers to determine the most viable option to build, to test, to launch in the market. Now, today, digital technology enables continuous testing and experimenting with level of complexity that would have been difficult in the past. Prototyping can be built from a low budget, and ideas tested quickly to users and the community. So there is a constant learning experience and rapid iteration of products, both before and after the launch date, are becoming the norm. These are some of the innovation by rapid experimenting is some of the things that we and my team has been doing. We are an innovation company, and we take the agile approach for providing services to our customers. So we go through a small iteration. I think the image there a little bit to build, but we go through a small iteration or cycle to deliver to our customer, which affords them to gather feedback from the customer quickly. So there is not this mass amount of capital invested, and you don't know what the customer actually gonna like or use the platform. But besides, it gives you the opportunity to learn much earlier, and so the cost of learning is much less, and it affords you the ability to, from the same amount of money, develop, test, and explore many more new innovation and figure out which one really gonna open up the door of opportunity. So we really have to rethink innovation. And the last domain I want to talk about is value. The shift from thinking about your value proposition is something, I think we have to think from our value proposition from something that is static, that defines by the industry, to something that is dynamic, something that you can continuously adapt and evolve based on the need in the market. Where you can see the change in technology not through the lens of how does it affect or change my current business, but through the lens of how does this open up how does this open up the opportunities for my next business, for my next aspect or my next new stage of my company. So we really have to really rethink our value proposition, and basically, in order to go through all of this, you have to go through something I would consider as a customer journey. Looking at from the eye of the customer and seeing what sort of journey that they would take. A typical example is that for somebody who want to apply for a loan, you not necessarily want to have a mortgage. The value proposition here for them is actually having a home for the family. So it's not necessarily the policy and the constraint that deals with that. The value for them is actually having a safe home that they want to. So you have to look at the entire journey, the entire experience for that customer, and to create that value. And in order to have the customer journey, there is 4 items here that I think is quite viable. One, you have real-time automation. Maybe in the hotel sector, I know that sometimes the flight might be late, guests might reach in late. So maybe at the hotel they have this device that notices when the guest arrives at the hotel, and not necessarily go through the queuing and waiting for the reception to deal with them, but actually sends them a notification via the mobile device and say, welcome to the Radisson. Yeah, and maybe they could swing their phone by the hotel room 651, and the doors open up to them. A real-time automation that you don't have to go through. And then in using that same example, looking at in the moment interaction. Yes, the guest is arrived late. Maybe the guest didn't eat. Maybe you could have front desk call them because they know that they arrive at the hotel and say, would you like for something to eat? You know? And then using, we have proactive intelligence, using the data that you had before, using the data that you have now, and actually transforming that to create a better experience. And then you engage innovation by creating new ideas from the data set that you've collected. So you have to map out the journey. I think once you look at your entire system, see where the customer would like to go from start to finish, and you're able to create that journey that the customer wants, then you'll be able to, create a viable, a value for that customer. Of course, going through the journey, we may bounce up some of these items here, where you have data or policy, maybe at from the banking level, where you want to consider the customer as a risk. There's a policy question. Or do you have the technology to support, or does that customer has the technology to support that innovation that you're about to apply? So some of these are the challenges that you might bounce up while you're going through mapping your journey from the customer's perspective. And you would have to deal with them from small teams, coming up with new ideas, and dealing with the issue one at a time. Because digital transformation, as I said earlier, is not something that comes from a wink of an eye. It's a process. And the process, you have to start really, really small. So building a roadmap for transforming your business, you have to look at the vision, where you're going, the strategy, how will you get there, the value driver, how will it impact your financial returns, the matrices, how you would measure that process, the success, the entire strategy, how would you measure that, the talent, who would you be using to get that strategy, and how would you get it, how would you engage them to get it done, and the funding, is it in your budget, or when you need to find the funding to support that transformation, and who would own it, governance, who would lead, and what is localized versus centralized, in terms of who would take that idea and transform and lead that process in your business. So I think that's the end of my present, but I believe that business can transform. You can transform. It's not the change in technology that hinders us. It's about our strategy, our leadership, about the new way of thinking. If you change and think differently and learn to challenge your assumption of how you understand your customer, your competition, your data, your innovation and value, then any enterprise can transform to the next path to growth in this digital era. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Noel. Let's put our hands together again for Mr. Noel. So this program is scheduled to end at 9:30, so it means we have just about half an hour remaining. So what we will do now is to take some expert comments from our discussants, and then following that, we will open up the floor for some questions. So our discussants tonight are Ms. Linda Straker. She's an intellectual property right consultant, and Mr. Anderson Stanislaus, IT specialist. So I'm now going to hand it over to Ms. Straker to make her comments, and then Mr. Stanislaus, following which we will take our questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I know many persons watching me tonight would know my face mainly in the field of journalism, but a few years ago I embarked on that journey, and I served as the licensing agent for a collective management agency. And during that process, there are lots of adjectives can be added before and after my name based on who the persons are or was. I just want person to know, but I still work in that area, but that's a very broad field. And so tonight I am just I had prepared a presentation, and George, I just want you to show up the small pack that we created, right? After listening to everyone, according to the guide that I got, I was supposed to share some thoughts on the link with everything to intellectual property rights. And most of you who are here are business persons. I recognize you from many other banking institutions. And I wonder, after listening, especially to the gentleman before me, how much do you know about the orange economy? Or do you know what the orange economy refers to? Anyone? So you are all in the banking sector and have no idea what the orange economy is. Okay, well, you'll be enlightened tonight. This data here is, I took it off the day from the World Intellectual Property Organization, latest research for 2017 December. And this is showing the contribution of the orange economy to Grenada. You have to literally look, I know it's kind of fuzzy because we had to stretch it, but I'll let you know the blue is representing the United States, and the middle mark is 5.1 in terms of GDP. Now, strangely enough, if we have the United States to the top, you see how much in millions it is bringing in. I will tell you, once Linda give me the email, actually I will send it to Linda and she will forward the full presentation to everyone so you'll understand that better. But I put that there to show you that as policy and persons who are part of the transformation in the economy for the millennials, as we referred to earlier, persons within your sector need to understand the digital environment and the contribution it is playing. Because we just listened to everything that was said on the other side can happen without anybody seeing each other. I work for an organization, and the first time everybody met was after about 5 years. And this thing was going and is operating quite fine. The orange economy covers the area of creative industry. And the gentleman before me here has come up with his online shop, and that is part of the creative economy. In his online shop, he now has brands. And these brands, if you're going to go shop on it, you want to make sure that whatever you get is indeed a Nike, is indeed a Adidas, is indeed a Roebuck, and not one of the fakes. In Grenada, we have intellectual property rights laws that covers copyright, that covers trademark, and cover patent. That number you're seeing there, this is, I think, 4 point. Grenada is way, way down. As a matter of fact, the third in line is St. Lucia. But Grenada is way down. Actually, it is even after St. Vincent. But if you look around and you use and go to Facebook every day, you are going to see persons who are doing photography, persons who are providing content like myself. You look at Netflix. These are content providers. And we look at the tourism ads. These are all content. How much are these persons who are in this properly paid? And if a jammer was to approach any one of you with his records and said, you know, I want to do a record, I want to film some videos, would you accept my record as collateral? Will any bank here do that? Well, the reality is, in the world of intellectual property rights, that's where you have to have people in your institution understand the value and learn to evaluate. Because the owners of Coca-Cola can walk into any bank and all they need to present is that logo and they will get any amount of money they want. So in Grenada, in terms of trademark and protection, so we can build this, Grenada has very good, effective laws. And I'm going to end by saying, last year in our parliament, it was presented that the trademark office, this is the office of the Corporate Affairs and Intellectual Property Office, has quickly become one of the money earners for government. And that because of the section of the creative industry or the orange economy that says trademark. Every institution you could think about, every piece of commodity item, and sometimes words. If you look at the government gazette, which I trust that most of you are receiving, it is covered with trademark and people have to pay for it. I know that this bank here has done, the corporate bank has trademarked every piece. And the protection that is provided, when this gentleman has his online store and you decide to buy using his ATM, you know that you're getting a certain quality, putting the two together. When he said that he's offering you an Adidas piece of garment, you should know that is because in trademark in Grenada, if you go to the Kaipo office, I pay attention to it and I sometimes look for the unusual thing. Now, every company from Netflix, YouTube, Google, Facebook, there are agents in Grenada who are responsible to ensure that these trademarks are there. Unfortunately, most of the companies in Grenada who we think and who I thought was trademarked, they are not. There was a situation developed recently where I know about, and because I was called, the person's trademarked the name of the person's tournament and decided to say to them, you have to pay me to get it. In terms of restructuring and trademark and the business environment, and you can understand a little bit more about valuing and trademark, Grenada, like most Caribbean countries, has one major problem. And that problem is we have not signed on to something called the Madrid Protocol. Senator Diallo is sitting there. I want you, the next time, or probably when you leave, or during the reception, make that phone call to a Minister of Legal Affairs and our Minister for Foreign Affairs. Beg of them the importance to sign the Madrid Protocol. And let me tell you why the Madrid Protocol is important. Ariza has copyright, has trademark. Nothing stops a Chinese from creating something called Ariza and sending it back to Grenada. Nothing stops the Chinese from creating a nutmeg. As a matter of fact, nutmeg had its own issues. With the Madrid Protocol, and you want to get to build that, once you trademark in Grenada, it gives the persons international protection of all the countries who have signed the trademark, the Madrid Protocol. I think right now it's about 138 countries. And that is important because if we want to transform our industry with this young generation, they need that level of protection. And I will end here. But before I end, I will say, in terms of our music, and because I had included there the amount of money that has been paid out and collected. You will get it in the presentation, but I will always also let you know. A lot is collected, but most of the payout is to the US and Europe. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I think we're over time, so I may just say thank you for coming. It's nice having you. Just joking. I just want to go back to Clevon's presentation. Streamline Networks, the company I own, we mainly deal with hardware solutions, right? Coupled with some software as well, right? One of the points he touched on that I want to address is cost versus benefit. No, we see that all the time when it comes to technology. A customer comes to you, they want to solve a particular problem, but they're not willing to pay for the solution. And I always encourage my customers. A lot of the times, IT is placed on the back burner. So one project that we did, I promise you I'll be short. One project that we did, a call center, a huge call center here on Island. We got called in, I would say, a day before the project started to look at the IT infrastructure and how stuff has to, what the infrastructure that has to go in, right? And we see that so many times that these things, IT is put on a back burner. It's not, a lot of times it's not budgeted for or it's not adequately budgeted for, right? People wait, or companies wait until the systems crash before they call you in, right? So, I mean, we need to think about, if we're thinking about technology, and we cannot survive, or businesses literally cannot survive without implementing certain technologies, we need to take that seriously and use the technology. How many of us have wireless in our businesses, right? The first thing that we come in here, you know, we get a wireless password, and then we log in. But that is a huge investment, right? How are we using that to recoup some of the monies that we spent, right? What's about advertisement? When you log onto your Wi-Fi, you get a splash page that tells you, you know, give you some information about the company, or forces you to our website to view the products and services of that particular business, right? We just give it away for free, yeah? So those are some of the things. What's about the cameras that are now existing? I know Clevon and his team has been speaking and playing with some technology that would recognize a male from a female walking into a store. Imagine what you can do with that information, right? We were at Orlando, a colleague of mine's, me and a colleague, in September, and HP has technology that would, you connect to the Wi-Fi, and then once you walk into a store, you walk into a particular store with a camera that is linked to that, it'll recognize. Somebody told me about a story where a lady walked in with a stroller, and the camera recognized that it's a woman with a stroller, and in a screen right next to the door pops up, you know, advertisement that is related to that. Artificial intelligence, it's all built into the technology. So we can use those things to, you know, to sell our products and services and recoup some of the monies that we spend on the technologies, right? Cloud storage is another thing. Productivity, you understand? We can be more productive. We can cut costs, you know, using those things. One more minute. And for example, and I'll go back to Clevon, because a lot of their approach with how they build software, we worked on several projects with them. I would know that they would spin up servers for a particular project and shut it down after, and they only pay for the amount of time that server was up, right? So say if you have a sale, or you need more bandwidth, or you need more capacity, if you're running a particular sale, or you're testing a particular software. I know Ariza just moved to a new software. You understand? Instead of, you know, purchasing hardware, and you're not sure whether, you know, the thing would work for you, you can spin up a server in the cloud and, you know, just delete it after if it doesn't work, and you only pay for the time that you use. There's so many ways that we can use it, and I can talk for so much more longer. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Anderson as well as Ms. Straker. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've heard it. Lots of food for thought, and I'm sure that we have many questions that we want to ask our discussant. So we're going to open up the floor now to get your questions, and let's keep it short and to the point. We have approximately 17 minutes left. I'm sure we can go over time by 10 minutes if need be, but let's get the questions flowing. Is it that it was so clear that we don't have any questions? Yes, sir.
What approaches would you say businesses need to adopt to change the way we view risk? You said some exciting things about the customer experience and the things we can do. But in the environment, I think we're still sort of stuck in the way we analyze and think about risk, which many times, and I think people can testify, ideas would have come to companies here already, especially in financial environment, but got stalled because of the way we're still analyzing and approaching risk. So you did not really touch on how we should think about risk in this new type of environment. So some ideas.
Well, first of all, let me ask you one question before we go. What sort of risk are you're speaking directly about? Because there is a lot of risk in terms of the technology, business policy, and others. So,
right. So as just a quick example, let's say in the financial environment, artificial intelligence, blockchain technology can really revolutionize product development and service delivery. Let's say in loans, for example. But how do you think we now need to approach the way we think about risk when we're thinking about loan products? Because that risk framework is built from the era of back then and so on. So how you think we need to start approach this? And also governance as well. Do we need to rethink or reform governance structures and so on to take advantage of the technological changes?
Yeah. Thanks for the clarification. For the first part of your question, I would say in terms of mitigating risk involves looking at your existing data and your data analysis. Now, if, for instance, you look at your customers and you've seen from the past X amount of years that these sort of customers is moving that direction, or these sort of loan facilities and so forth they're going for, then the data would show, what sort of or how you could go about implementing. I think from that perspective, looking at your data, both the past and also looking at the present data that you can acquire on these entities would help you mitigate those sort of risks. And for the second part, which I totally forgot in answering the first part of the question, in governance, right? Yeah. The formulating the thought still. Yeah.
You would have companies right now where you may have board of directors, persons on the board of directors, and directing these companies that are struggling with WhatsApp and so on. If you catch my drift.
Yeah.
So when I say if we need to rethink governance, holistically, how, for example, we elect persons to boards and so on. What sort of role the governance structure now plays in the delivery of the service.
Right.
The part you spoke about where you say you use that short cycle, I'm already seeing you can set up short cycle processes in a financial institution where cycles may start and end right on the front line if you set the structure right.
Yes,
so then it now changes how you view managing an institution like that, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think technology simplifies the governance structure, and also in terms of that part of, I think earlier in my presentation I mentioned how there's a shift in the top-down approach where the idea, because these are the persons who are spending the money from the board, the CEOs, those are the structure, these are where the ideas is coming from. I think you have to change from that set. Once you change the mindset, at least you maybe have one champion, right? In terms of not necessarily coming up with the new ideas, but asking the business, how do I go about solving that problem? And then distributing that problem down the line, not necessarily the board actually answering those questions. There is different talents, there is different group, even if you have to bring Anderson in or other entities to answer those questions and come up with new innovation, using the same short cycle process that I've mentioned in terms of delivering. So there is not that large amount of investment involved in terms of money value, but there is this short cycle, you know that it works or you don't know that it works, and you move from creating new ideas from that.
Thank you for the question and the response provided by Mr. Noel. So we have another half an hour again. I was told that the program was extended. No, no, no. I'm just joking because we need to get the questions. All right, so let's get the questions flowing. We have approximately 10 minutes left.
All right. Thank you very much for your presentation. I want to talk about SMEs, small to medium-sized enterprises, and in terms of embracing change and new technology and so forth. But before I get into that, I just want to relay an incident recently where I engaged a small entrepreneur in terms of, they approached me first, and they wanted to do a proposal in terms of enhancing their business. And the first thing I told the person, can you send me an email, like a detailed email, what you want to do so I can assist you? And you know what the person told me? I don't know how to use email. I don't like this technology. So in your experience, how do you deal with these people, these kind of small SMEs? How do you handle them and convince them that change is good and embracing that technology can enhance their business? Thank you.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. I think that change in mindset is necessary first. Otherwise, I mean, it would be a downhill battle, right? But showing the individual the benefit, right? How they can save money, how they can save time. And that is so important for a small business, right? For example, today I had some work being done at my house, and I couldn't go into the office, but I was working from home using a VPN, right? So showing them, I mean, I save gas, you know, a little bit of water, you know. Can I jump out of bed and go straight to work? But I mean, you know, saving that, collaborating, and as Clevon was saying, that you can collaborate with people that is not necessarily working with you, right? You can collaborate on projects, and so you save money that way. Things like keeping track of your records, point of sale systems. I know so many people that still use cash registers, right? And so they can't even track how much money they're making. They really operate in big shops, right? The money go into the till and they take it out to pay the delivery guy that come with the stuff, you know. So just showing them the benefits. And if you are an entrepreneur, you're in business, and you cannot see how technology, if somebody shows you and you cannot see how it saves you money or causes you to make more profit, then maybe you should get a job.
My question is that we operate in a very fragmented information network between our private sector organizations. Now, you just described using AI and machine learning technology, how private sector businesses in larger countries are using the technology to get more market intelligence. Market intelligence is a way for us to predict trends and for businesses to adapt much more better, I guess. And my question is, how do we overcome the stumbling blocks in a way that we can coalesce different information sources that affect our market, so that the average persons in the private sector and persons within the market in Grenada can use market intelligence and use information sources that are already established in a more coalesced kind of way?
All right. In terms of, first of all, I think looking at the data, because, no, let me just backtrack. I think from the customer perspective, we have to move from that point of view, because I believe that you apply the tools, and I use tools in here loosely as mean technology that is relevant to the customer, right? So if AI or this entity doesn't apply for your customer, then don't implement it. In so doing, there is what I think you could also, what I think there's an opportunity is to bring a cross sector of different data set in terms of allowing these entities to I lose my train of thought again. Yeah.
How do we coalesce all the different information sectors that already have in the economy and the stumbling blocks that we can overcome to create an information network where information is more readily available and proliferated for the private sector use?
I mean, in terms of that, I was just saying that data sharing using application programming interface to actually allow the facility for that sort of stuff.
Right. So I want to give a different spin. I want to get an old people view, right, and give a different take. I think most of us in the business and financial institutions understand the benefits of the technology and the digitizing and so on. But in your presentation, you spoke a lot about the cost and not understanding the benefits when you spend. But the issue, one of the real issues for us in business is that you guys in the digital world have your hand deep down in your pockets. to say that when we invest in the technology and we digitize our operations and we understand the needs of the customer and it's customer driven, then you guys come and tell us we have to put in redundancy, we have to put in security, and we have to spend X millions to get this technology. You talk a lot about data mining. When I data mine to understand the needs of my customers, it's not a cheap thing. Now, I have to look at, when I go to my board of directors that we talk about who can use WhatsApp, we need to say to them that when I come and you tell me the data mine is going to cost me X millions, how am I getting more customers through my door when I spend that money? That is a reality of the business world. I have to, my bankers and them, they have to cost benefit my relationships. And if I can't convince my board that can use WhatsApp, that for every X million I spend on the technology and the digitizing and so on, I can bring through 10 extra more customers to take loans. And no matter what convenience I provide, understanding that it has to be customer driven. And I hear you say, reanalyze the customer, relook at what they're doing. We have a younger millennials, everybody wants something on their phone. When I invest in the technology to cater for that, do I get more business? And that is a key question for us. You understand? So I hear you saying, and we all have to go there because it's going to be pulled by that. But at the end of the day, that value proposition that you're talking about is more complex than we think in that world. Let me comment on that.
So I know Senator Diallo is asking a very deep question, and I think that the response may take us well beyond the time, but of course I want to allow the discussants to provide some feedback on it, but certainly we want to hear from them. So I just ask for your indulgence as we go forward for an extra 5 minutes, and then we wrap it up with the closing remarks by Mr. Jacino Jacob, President of the Communal Cooperative Credit Union. So just give us an extra 5 or 10 minutes so as we get the final comments from our discussants.
Senator Diallo, I hear you. One of the things that I would say I personally encounter is that, well, one of the things that we do, I try to sit with my customers and make them understand. A lot of the times, the older heads, they just, want it done. A lot of the times, they pay the money and they walk away, you understand? And they see the lights blinking and they think that's all fine. But I always tell my customers that I don't want you to take a solution from me and then you see Anderson say, this is what I have to do. I want you to understand what we're installing, how it works, not maybe in the most technical way, but what are the benefits to you, right? And a lot of the times we are asked to send in proposals and then they look at the bottom line and then say, we can't afford that. They don't engage you or want to understand the benefits of what is being proposed. The other thing is that I think that a better collaboration so for example, if I'm providing a solution like data mining, collecting data, and you know that you're using that to market your company or market a particular product, and you want to know how that would play out. Now, I'm IT, right? And you need to get marketing involved. So I think that, you know, companies need to understand, you know, that we're starting here, but we're ending there, the results, and get all the parties that needs to be involved, because I may not be able to tell you the marketing aspect of it. I may be able to tell you that this is the data you would collect, but how you use it and how your marketing team use that information would determine the results of that, right? So I think those are the aspects and how you have to look at it. Hope I answered your question.
Well, I just want to add to what Anderson said. As I said before, I think digital transformation is not something that comes from a blink of an eye. It's a process. And as Anderson rightfully said, that you should get in persons to, while understanding the technology, but also every person in the organization should have an understanding of why this technological change is about to happen. Why are you investing in this new Wi-Fi system, right? Not just spending the buck and walking away, but everybody should embrace the move. So from that holistic movement, you have everybody talking the same language within the organization. And also, well, another part is to understand the infrastructure. I think it's a key part, not necessarily really the detailed part of the technology involved, but understanding what benefit one can gain from that sort of infrastructure that will be implemented. So those are just the 3 points that I wanted to add to Anderson.
I just want to make one more point. I think that there's some misconception that IT comes first. And I don't think so. I don't think IT should come first. I think your operations should drive. So you should come to me and say, I am trying to achieve this. What solution do you have? Your marketing team should come to me and say, I would like to capture this amount of data, or like to understand this trend. How can you facilitate that? Or what systems can you put in place to facilitate that? So I think, and I always tell my customers, I say, I cannot do this without you. I must understand what is going on in your business to give you a solution, right? We had one particular business that came to us. And to be honest, I really could have sold a solution and make a lot of money. But I told them no, because they really didn't understand what they were trying to achieve. You understand? So, it needs to come from management down. It needs to be, your strategic plan, it needs to flow down the road, right? Because if you have, that's us coming from outside. But I look at myself as an IT manager in any company that I work for. I look at myself as the IT manager. I just don't come and sell you a solution and walk away, right? I need to understand what is going on. What are you trying to achieve? How would your business look in the next 5 years? Because, I could sell you a server with such and such amount of space, and then you run out of space in 2 years or a year. Then what next? Right? Or you can purchase a server now, and then the server that you purchase cannot host the application that you were planning to buy a year from now that you didn't disclose, and you have no idea how much time we encounter those things, right? That, people spend money and it doesn't make any sense. They had to buy a next server and a next server, or the space is not enough, or, or one person come and install one thing, as the gentleman was saying. I know of organizations where, in government, where 3 different organizations are collecting the same set of data. the exact same set of data.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you for the response. So, Senator Diari, just spend the money and capitalize it. Don't expense it. I will cheat with the accounting later on. Just spend it and capitalize it. So, ladies and gentlemen, there we had it. Let's put our hands together for the presenters. So it's exactly 9:35, and I honored my commitment to keep it 5 minutes over. So I will now hand you over to Mr. Jacobs, who would come up and do the closing remarks. Mr. Jacobs. Are you doing a presentation, Mr. Jacobs? Okay.
I think this should be presentations to the specially invited guests, though. So I'm kind of waiting for this. Or do I continue? So to our specially invited guests, okay.
First of all, to the two presenters, Mr. Searles. Yes. So our partner from Republic Bank will make the presentation to Mr. Searles. And our partner from Communal Credit Union will make the presentation to Mr. Noel. We haven't forgotten our discussants, Ms. Linda Straker, Mr. Teron Greenidge, Mr. Anderson Stanislaus. Mr. Edwards already left and he already got his token. Thank you very much, Mr. Jacob.
And now for the closing remarks. So to the specially invited guests, fellow representatives of the various institutions, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. This business symposium, which focused on conducting and protecting business in the digital environment, represents a culmination of this year's ECCB Financial Information Month. It is a great honor to attend such an event and be privy to these great discussions, which were both relevant and timely for the market in which we now operate. I would like to extend our highest respect and most sincere gratitude to the joint efforts of all financial partners, presenters, moderators, discussants, and to most sincerely congratulate the ECCB on this successful event. As this symposium ends, I believe we as institutions all agree that we have to brace ourselves and be well prepared for the new evolving era of doing business in the local financial environment and the global economy. My dear friends, 40 years ago, when the first personal computers were being introduced, nobody could have anticipated the great impact it would have on our lives. Information technology is constantly evolving and changing the way we do business. It has already changed the way we make payments. And after listening to the extremely interesting and informative presentation from Mr. Andrew Searles and Mr. Clevon, Noel, we anticipate even more changes to our payment system and doing business in the future. The presentation from Mr. Searles, Legal Advisor, Regional Security System this afternoon, as well as discussion from Mr. Teron Greenidge from the FIU and Mr. Anthony Edwards from the GARFIN, give good insights into how this development might change the way we do business and contribute to a deeper understanding of the digital environment in which our entities operate. I wish to express our profound thanks to Mr. Searles and the panelists for their insights. Similarly, we are grateful to hear from a local entrepreneur and owner of business, Sonover, Mr. Clevon Noel, on the topic restructuring and transforming our business to take advantage of opportunities in the digital environment. It's also always good to see young entrepreneurs forming local business and taking advantage of technology and talent to succeed. We often take these things for granted. Thanks also to the discussants, Ms. Linda Straker, Intellectual Property Rights Consultant, and Mr. Anderson Stanislaus, IC Specialist, a local entrepreneur, for your thoughts-provoking contributions. Thanks to Mrs. Linda Felix Berkeley and our team from the ECCB office, Grenada, for your hard work and dedication for encouraging and engaging the various financial institutions to be part of this most important symposium. We look forward to future events like these. I would also like to acknowledge the media for your coverage of this event and events of the Financial Information Month. Your support is highly appreciated. And finally, to all attendees here, this event would not have been a success without your presence and active participation. Thank you very much. If you're like me, you are scared of the impending changes, but you're also encouraged by the imminent opportunities. But let us not be daunted. Let us use this apparent confusion to inspire us to act so that we may prosper, or at least survive, as individuals and institutions in this changing marketplace. Thank you.